Controversy, opinion, point of view. This is Prime News.
I want a public apology for what you did to my son. I want your full name out. I want you to come forward. I want you to take responsibility for what you do, and then I want you to resign. Because no one who treats children like that, who call them vicious names, who humiliate them, who batter them verbally, deserves to be a teacher. What you did was so disgusting that you should be walking around with your head in shame.
That's an angry dad, and I can understand his anger tonight. Welcome to Prime News. I'm Vinnie Politan. This dad posted that because he was outraged about what he found out and what he learned. And this is a dad who has an autistic child, and he's a single dad. And he's getting reports from school that his child is acting out, and he doesn't understand it because he knows his child and the way he acts when he's home. And he's baffled as to what's going on at school. So finally, after months, he puts a wire on his son, records his day at school. And what he learns and what he hears is what has this dad outraged. It's my biggest story of the day.
Do you have any holidays in work? Mouth get off. The mouth closed, hands down, quiet. Hands together. Mouth. And birthday. Stop. Eat. You're not going to earn if your mouth is going. Oh, boy. You're going to. Go ahead and squeeze, because guess what? You're going to get nothing. And your mouth is shut. Friends who are listening. Are they in any of these? No, look, shut your mouth. What did you do in the library yesterday? You looked at the sculpture. That's what you did? You look at the book? Yeah, no. You go to see any books in the library, or you just look at sculptures? Oh, there you are.
Where's the compassion? I don't understand this. I don't. Here's a statement from the superintendent and Board of Education president. In February, upon receiving a copy of an audio recording, the district undertook a thorough and rigorous investigation, and as we have previously noted, responded swiftly and appropriately. Although this is a personnel matter and there are specifics that I cannot legally address publicly, I want to assure our parents that the individuals who are heard on the recording raising their voices and inappropriately addressing children no longer work in the district and have not since shortly after we received the copy of this recording. Let me bring in my guests. Joining me tonight, Brett Singer, columnist for DaddyTips.com. And Deirdre O'Brien is on the phone. She's executive director of ARC of Georgia, which advocates for the rights of children and adults with developmental disabilities. Thank you both for being here. And this is, for me, it's all about trust. You know, it's difficult enough for parents. You know, you've got to learn to trust the school bus driver. You've got to trust the teachers. When your children are real young, you have to trust daycare providers. Then you've got a special needs child, like this young boy. And you've got to trust the people who are going to show compassion and show respect and do the right thing. And Brett, I see a story like this, and I come across stories like this every day. And, you know, what do we as parents need to do to learn the trust? Because to me, I now look at everyone skeptically.
Well, I mean, the trust obviously was violated. There's a tremendous amount of trust involved when you drop your son or daughter off at school, when you leave them with a babysitter, whatever it is. And you hit it exactly right. I mean, you said as a dad, you hear stories like this, and I mean, you heard about the tiger mom. I mean, it's lion dad. I mean, I completely understand the father's fury at this. And on top of that, it's inappropriate for the teacher to speak to any child that way. But the fact that this is an autistic child, I know a little bit about, you know, behavioral plans and things like that, and I can just hear every single thing. It's a textbook example of how to do everything wrong, and it's on tape.
Everything.
And there's nothing good about that.
Deirdre?
Yeah, there's nothing good on that tape.
Deirdre, how about it learning to trust? And I mean, how do we check out what's happening. You know, you've got a special needs child who maybe can't communicate with you. How do we learn to figure out what's going on, number one? So number two, we can learn to trust the people.
Well, I have a 14-year-old daughter who is nonverbal, so I understand exactly where this dad is coming from. I think, honestly, you have to go with your gut instincts. This dad, obviously, let me clarify, this wasn't bullying, this was abuse. This is verbal abuse of an individual. You go with your gut instincts. This dad, obviously, his gut instinct said something was wrong. And then you move forward. You sit there and say, what should I do? Whether I don't know how to wire a child. Would I do it if I had to? Absolutely. But I think it's what your other speaker said. You go to the mat for your child.
You have to. Yeah, you have to. You absolutely have to, Brett. I mean, my goodness. That's our job. That's our role. That's what we need to do. But there's so many other things going on. People have multiple children, multiple issues. You've got jobs. People are working. We're running around. We're going here, there, everywhere. And at some point in the day, our children are entrusted in the care of others each and every day.
I'll give you a little trick that actually used to work for me, and this wouldn't apply in this case because you have a child who has difficulty communicating, obviously. But we used to play this game, Dad and Son, and I would pretend to be the son, and he would pretend to be the dad. And what would happen is that would get him talking, and he would start telling me things about his day. Now, again, I don't want to compare that to this situation.
No, but I like the idea, Brett. I'm going to try that tonight.
I'll tell you, it's one of those things that after a couple of days, I said, I think I've hit on something here because this is actually working. And listen, even if there's not anything bad going on, you just want to know what's happening.
Absolutely.
But that's definitely the first step is simply to talk to your kid. And if you start to sense that something is wrong, and in this case, clearly there was, then you have to go to whatever the next step is. And this father really did do that, from what I understand.
Absolutely. Brett and Deirdre, thank you both so much. Now, remember the story we told you about?